Welcome to Dying to Know, where we open up about everything that comes with losing a loved one.
Because the only thing that sucks worse than death is not being able to talk about it.
We're your bereavement babes, Leah and Rachel, and today we're diving into Caskets. Hi, Rach.
Hi, Leah.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. So we know today's topic is about caskets. That's the choice that our families made to bury our fathers. We know there's other options, which we'll get into in a later episode. I know my family chose open. I'm sorry, who am I?
We chose closed.
Yeah, you chose closed, and we
casket.
chose open. So I saw this on Google, and it says, I asked, how common are open caskets? It states, in the United States, open casket funerals are relatively common. In Europe countries, less so. Mm-hmm. Certain cultures and religions do not view open casket funerals as appropriate. And in Jewish faith, for example, they are generally considered unacceptable. So I know that you are Jewish.
Yes,
Did
I
you
am.
all consider it unacceptable? How did you come to this choice? What was that like?
I think growing up Jewish, we kind of always knew it was going to happen. And that's how, I guess, funerals go. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say I know everything about if it's unacceptable or all that, but it also is a representation of closing a chapter on life and all that for friends and family. But we always knew there was never a question if we were going to do open casket. I think personally, me and my siblings probably wouldn't have been able to handle well an open casket.
Gotcha.
So I think that was a choice we were always kind of happy to go with. Also, in the Jewish faith, you don't usually embalm. We didn't embalm. So that also speeds up, obviously, decomp. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But also, you are supposed to do it within a certain amount of days and times. The funeral probably worked with was very flexible with us, knowing that people were coming out, but they were very strict on you need to have it by this day, which everyone was able to make. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
But yeah, we closed casket was the route we were going.
Is there any way that you could extend? Is there any? I mean, what you're saying that there's no embalming, so obviously we know that the body has to be preserved. It's starting to decompose, so closing makes a lot of sense. Yeah. But I'm just saying, is there ever been an instant that you know of, just out of curiosity, where they allow a certain amount of time or a little bit of a cushion, just out of curiosity?
The closest and the most I know is I think my grandpa, they kept him on ice for a little bit just because, again, lots of family in Florida. And I think, and again, I was a lot younger for this one, but I do think maybe there was a day of flexibility.
Okay.
But again, without the embalming, it's highly, highly recommended that you do it as fast as possible. I think for a more traditional Jewish funeral, they try to do it next day, one day. So I feel like pushing over 3 days is a big push. So they try to make it as fast as possible for it to happen. Yeah. But with that, a lot of funeral parlors are already savvy to that. So things were able to keep rolling fast. We were already there picking out and having our first shopping experience.
Yeah. I mean, it's so strange that you say that because a casket, planning a funeral in itself is a lot of work, but it is a shopping experience.
100%.
When it comes to selecting urns and also caskets, or depending on what you're going to do for your family. So I know for my story, we did choose to do an open casket, which feels very cultural. I think it's very Black, if I'm being blunt. I don't think I've ever been to a funeral of anyone that was Black that didn't have an open casket.
Really?
Yes. And I know traditionally we always do a viewing first, the day before, and then also a funeral.
Which, it was. I remember when you told me it's going to be more than one day, I was sending you a lot of love, because even that one day was a lot. So.
Exactly. And then at the ceremony, when you have not a ceremony, but the service, when you have an open casket, they have something called a closing of the briar, which means closing of the casket. So we knew this was going to happen, but no one walked us through what that would be like. Mm-hmm. So hold on to your seatbelts, everybody, because it is a very uncomfortable part of the service. I would say probably the worst. I wouldn't want to experience it again. So once the funeral kind of starts, everyone kind of views the body and then also greets the family, since we're sitting on the front row. Mm-hmm. I wonder if this is cultural or religious. I'm not really sure. But then it's kind of this last call to view the body for the family. And then the immediate family of the deceased kind of goes up. And there's screws or I don't know. It's what's that wrench that comes with your IKEA furniture? It looks like an Allen wrench. Thank you.
Yes.
That they literally lower the body in the casket itself. And then they start to like, I guess the other things that are on top of the casket, like, you know, sometimes they put a floral arrangement or different things. Other people are taking it off and they're like, you know, say whatever. And you're kind of like, this is traumatic as fuck. Like, someone is mechanically moving.
Like the informality of it all. Does it almost like break this weird third wall where you're just like, bruh, like this is my
it's
dad.
kind of like a lot. It's like a lot of people are surrounding, like you're surrounded by your loved ones and your family. I learned that like caskets aren't fully lined.
Wow, no.
Yeah. So like I remember like the experience we had, we were in a funeral home and they took us into like a separate room and they had asked like how we would like to, you know, what were next steps, whether it was going to be cremation or burial. And they kind of have like quarters of caskets kind of like hanging out of a wall. Like this is what it will look like. This is the hardware, whatever. And I remember like looking at some of them, and I remember my dad jokingly used to say, like, y'all could bury me in a wooden box and put me in the backyard. And I remember one of the caskets were just, like, all wood. And I was like, this is appropriate. This is kind of what, like, he would joke about and say.
Which is actually kind of crazy because in the Jewish religion, it is more custom to put in, like, just a plain wooden box.
Oh, really?
Apparently, and I might be getting this wrong, is, like, death isn't always comfortable. So it's almost like a symbolism of that. I know a lot of the traditions after, and I'm scared that I might be getting a lot of this wrong.
It's okay.
But it is kind of custom to do a more simpler box, which is funny that you say that.
Exactly. Maybe my dad was telling us something. Maybe. So, like, I can't remember the full conversation with, like, the funeral director who was, like, helping us through this process. But, I was asking her, can the casket be fully open, like, shoes and socks body type of thing? I don't know where that came from. I wish I could remember. And she was like, well, no, because like the rest of the casket isn't like lined or like there's no like bedding and stuff in it. And I never knew that. And then I asked her, because I think she said like you can't open it because there isn't that in there. And I was like, well, how do you get the body in there? Because then I thought about like, oh my God, are they just going to slide him in this opening? And she's like, oh no, like behind the scenes it can open, but like no one displays it because there's no lining in there. And I know for like the type of casket we had chose, there was medallions that could be like magnetic on the open side of it. So you could choose like a father or like maybe a profession or a sports team. Like it was so many different options. So we kind of, even though it was only 3 options, we kind of wanted to show like an aspect of his life. So I think my mom chose one. Yeah. About being like married to him. We did one for like the kids, and then we also chose like a grandfather one for like the grandkids as well. Aww. And I think you have like similar about like things that you can put in there.
Yeah, no, for our casket, they obviously like ask you what you're gonna wear or what that you want them to wear.
Yeah.
And if we wanted to include anything in it. And my dad always used to joke that because he had this one suit that he wore for his wedding and that he wore for my sweet 16 and that he wore for everything. He's like, I'm gonna die in this suit.
Got it.
So that was his suit. We did include some other options like just in case, and we did say anything that they didn't use could either be donated or like thrown out again. Like it was just kind of like, let's be done with it.
Yeah.
And then my mom like let me and my siblings all know like if there was anything that we wanted to add, because again, like we're Mets fans. We have different little things. I remember, and I feel like this was actually my first moment of really understanding that everyone grieves differently. Like we don't all grieve the same, where I was just like, okay, like 3-ish key items that he loved, where like it did start to become a little bit more. And I was just like, in my head, I was like, this isn't a Christmas tree. We don't need to decorate it. But I did I stepped back and realized like, this is what makes my siblings feel happy. Like, this is, like, what they want to do. They want everyone, like, it's okay to add whatever you want. Like, it's meant to be with him.
Exactly. Is that Jewish custom, or was that something that personally the family wanted
That's
to, like,
something,
do
it was more personal. We did it similar with my grandfather. My dad actually started this where we also we put money in their pocket, you know, just in case on your trip up there. We did 100. Okay. Because you never know if you need to, like,
bills,
get your way up there.
One bill?
A $100 bill.
Okay.
And then my dad was a lefty, so we just asked them if they could include it in his left pocket. So
I love that.
Yeah, if he needed any help getting up.
Yeah.
His
I
pocket.
love that. Yes. I know, like, also, too, besides the, like, medallions that showed that aspect of my dad's life, I remember my mom kept asking, like, leading up, like, should I bury him in his glasses? Should I take his wedding ring? Should I take the, like, watch and stuff? And I also thought, like, being a glasses wearer, but also I'm like, eyes are closed, obviously, in a casket, like, is it necessary?
Yeah.
But I do remember, I believe at the last minute, and maybe she thought this through, I'm not sure, that she did remove his glasses and his wedding ring.
Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah.
and my little sister has his wedding ring too. So we did
okay.
keep that. So yeah, it was more symbolic things that we added in. And then we also did like, even though that it's more custom to have a simpler casket, we did want to give him like a little bit of an upgrade and send him out, a little bit fancier.
Yeah.
What was actually, I don't know if it's cool, but my grandfather was also buried in the same place. So we could kind of see like what he had based it off something similar. I like a dark wood aesthetic. So.
Yes, I did too. We did like a dark, like cherry wood.
I know. I wish I could remember the type of wood, but I remember it was darker. You could have the option if you wanted like a religious emblem on top, or if you wanted a little more simpler. We did keep it a little simpler.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think the biggest thing though was the sticker price and the sticker shock of it.
Ooh.
Caskets are anywhere between like starting around like 2,000 and up.
Yeah.
So I remember, and the people we worked with were so sweet, but that was the first time where I was like, shit, like this is not.
Yeah.
You don't just like bury someone in a box. It is expensive, and it starts expensive from the beginning. And I know that was a really, really big surprise for me. And I remember that I was just like, whoa, like, okay, we're gonna have to really get together and figure out how we're doing all this, because I'm sending him off right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that, like, you think of the sticker shock of funerals, you hear all the time, like how expensive funerals are. Like, people need to have life insurance, but then also when it's a close loved one. And my dad was a very simple man. Like, again, he was like, bury me in overalls, put me in the backyard, because he was country. But it's like, no, you mean too much to me for me to discard you. I'm putting you in the best of the best. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
100%.
So I'm looking at this, like, is this cherry oak? And then this is going to be the suit. And then this is going to be the hardware. And like, also the professions that we are, we're both artists. Like, we're looking at the minor details of everything. Like, no, you're going out of here in style.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I feel like, yes, maybe I kind of had an idea that funerals were expensive, but nowhere near the like nowhere near. I would have never in a million years guessed like the end price of everything, which I'm sure we'll get to in a later episode. But that was the first moment where I was like, shit, like, yeah, this is going to be expensive. Like,
exactly.
we're in for it.
Just advice to those who are like currently going through this, like, I mean, the funeral planning of it all is sort of a shopping experience.
Yeah.
Like, I know we'll get into like what you're going to wear to these services, how you're bury the deceased. But just going to these like funeral homes or planning celebrations of life, you have options in this.
Yeah.
So just kind of be prepared to like see. I could not believe that I was in a room looking at like quarter pieces of like caskets sticking out of a wall.
Well, ours was more catalog type.
Okay,
so, yeah, I
okay.
remember flipping through pages and really checking and everything like that.
Whereas ours was like a showroom, and I was like, I never thought I would end up in a place like this, or that places like this exist. And then also like finances, just be prepared.
Yeah, no, I think it truly is preparing for your future, because if you don't have life insurance, it's definitely something that you really have to like work to get together and make it all happen.
Yes, because you want to do your best for your loved
You can never be
ones.
too prepared for your future.
No, you can't. Today's episode is in loving memory of my grandfather, Paul Kinlaw, who is missed each and every day. Again, we're your bereavement babes, Leah and Rachel, and we'll see you on the other side.